Welcome back, Hive Mind. This is Shalazar with Hive Mind Gaming, coming at you with another tabletop simulator for Massive Darkness 2, the Kickstarter that just ended for Cool Mini or Not and Guillotine Games. So what we're going to take a look at in this video is we're going to take a look at the 11 playable classes that you can play in Massive Darkness 2, Hellscape. So I did a video before on what the differences were in the rule set between the original Massive Darkness and the Massive Darkness 2 set. So what I want to take a look at specifically in this one is the Massive Darkness characters. So the classes that you can play. So there's 6 character classes in the main box, which is the Barbarian, the Wizard, the Shaman, the Paladin, the Rogue, and the Ranger. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at those 6 first, and then once we take a look at those, then we're going to move on to the heroes that were unlocked, the classes that were unlocked throughout the campaign of the Kickstarter, and we're going to go over their kit, see how to get a general idea of how they work, and go over that. Because if you're like I was before or as the campaign was going on, I didn't really care. I looked at it, I said, oh cool, I skimmed over it to get a general idea, and then I was like, alright, cool, a new class, whatever. But then I was like, well, I should probably do content on it because most people are just going to do what I did, which is just skim over it and not really have a full concept of what the class does. So I went ahead and painstakingly figured out how each class works, and I'm putting together a video on that. So come on in, have a seat, grab some popcorn, and let's get into it. So first off, we've got the Paladin. So the Paladin is going to be a support champion who also has some DPS value to him as well. Now his main kit is that he's got these auras. So what that means, so he's got these tokens here that he can just give away as he sees fit. So he can put them on himself, he can give it to another hero, he can do whatever he wants with it. Now when you give it to someone, they sit right in the center of it, like so, and then you can pick it up and move it around like that. If you're on Tabletop Simulator, when you get the actual physical box, it will have all these tokens, and you can move them around as such. So when you give someone an aura, whatever ability you have attached to that aura, like for instance, this card is underneath this aura, so that means anyone I give this token to, and it's under their champion, that means that they automatically get +1 movement. That's how it works. It's that simple. It's very unique. I actually like it a lot because it allows you also the ability with the different skills and things. As you go up in level, you get more skills, which allows you to mix and match. And not every game's going to be exactly the same because it really depends on the abilities that you choose for your Paladin, for your auras, that kind of thing. And anytime the Paladin can spend mana to attach one of these auras to himself or any other hero. During his turn, he can spend a mana to bless any skill until the end of the round or when the aura leaves the figure. So, for instance, let's say this aura was right here on blue, and the blue was on the Barbarian. So now the Barbarian, while he has this aura, gets a reroll with every one of his attacks. So let's say that he blesses it. Now the Barbarian will get till the end of the turn, he will get +1 attack and the reroll per attack. And then you flip this card at the start of the round when you remove the aura from the Barbarian. So very cool and unique ability. I really like the kit. I think it's I think they did a really good job on the uniqueness of this kit and gives a really good feel toward the Paladin and being a support champ. So I really do like how that works, how the Paladin works. So next we have the Barbarian. The Barbarian is going to be your melee DPS class. Their class is based, or their kit is based on stances. So you've got 3 basic stances, which is your Blood Rage, your Reckless, and your Provoke stance. And basically, this tells you what you have to do to get these improvements. Now, what this piece is up here, every time the Barbarian takes damage, when they remove their damage off their character over here, they put the damage marker in this little area, in this Berserker dashboard. Now, the max that it could possibly be is 7. There are some abilities that can raise that up, but as a baseline, 7 is the max number of points that you can have, or lost points that you can have in this on this dashboard. Now, here's the thing, guys. If you heal your Barbarian and you have points over here, you just pull more tokens out and heal yourself. You don't remove them off your dashboard. Once they're on your dashboard, they're on your dashboard until you use them over here. With the basic stance, it costs 1 token to get this ability. So while you're in Blood Rage stance, you spend a token and you get a reroll while attacking. Here, you spend a token and you get +1 movement, and if you're in Provoke, you spend a token to get +1 defense. Now, to move it from one stance to the other, it does cost you a token. So once you start getting your skills and abilities, so there's 3 basic skills that are right here, and it tells you on the card what stance they're supposed to be in. So this is a Blood Rage, and then you spend a token to get +1 defense. Now, if you spend 1 token, it doesn't mean you get a reroll and this. You have to choose one or the other. But while you're in that stance, these are the things that you can spend your tokens on. So the same with this, and you gain one of these skills every time you go up a level. You get to choose which one you get, and you get to choose once you get into these other non-basic skills, you get to choose where to put it. So it says any stance, and so that means no matter what I put it in, if I put it in the combat stance or the provoke stance, that means now while I'm in that stance, I can spend 1 for a defense, I can spend 1 for a taunt, or I can spend 1 to heal 2. That's how the Barbarian works. Very unique, very interesting on how it works. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Barbarian. If you think that it should work different, do you think that it should get all of these abilities by spending 1? I mean, maybe. But that also might make the Barbarian just a little more powerful than some of the other classes if you did that. So the Rogue is the king/queen of RNG. So basically how the Rogue works is you've got this bag right here that has a bunch of tokens in it. So we're just going to look here. So the tokens that are in it right now is +1, +1. You got a +1 movement. You got a double reroll, +1 movement, and then move up to 2 zones before attacking. So what you're going to do is you have 3 actions per turn. So what you're going to do is at the beginning of your turn, you're going to draw 3 random tokens. And so let's say if you drew that, that, and that. And this is random, using air quotes. So we draw 3 tokens out of the bag. And keep in mind that every class starts with 1 skill starting off. So if you chose Shadow or Poison, then you would add those tokens to your bag as well. So that would be an option you would be drawing as well. Alright, so basically what you do is you have three actions per turn every time you have actions with your characters. How the rogue works is every time they take an action, they use one of their tokens. Now, let's say if he or she was going to do a double move. So obviously you would want to flip this one over because it give you a +1 move. And then you were going to do another move. Well, now you have to make a choice. Do you want to use this token or this token? Neither one of them are going to give you a bonus, but you still have to spend a token. And why that's important is because once you get into combat, then it becomes a bigger deal, right? So let's say you're already in combat at the beginning of your turn. Now you draw these 3 tokens. Now you've got to decide which attack do I want to use my double reroll, and which attack do I want to use my extra yellow dice. Now this is going to be just a throwaway, so who cares? So maybe what you'll want to do is use these 2 first. That way you can hopefully kill the bad guy and get the +1 movement for your last action. Something like that. So these are your 3 level 1 cards that you can choose from. If you choose Shadow, then there's an explanation card right here on what it does. If you chose Poison, then this is the explanation card for the Poison. They're explained more fully on the actual skill card as well. So, because you can get higher level Poison cards and higher level Shadow cards, and each one is going to tell you more fully what that means. But every time you choose one of these, you add more tokens to your bag, your tool bag. So when you choose this skill, you add 2 more Poison tokens. If you add this skill, you add 2 Shadow tokens, and if you add the Dark Swiftness, then you add these 2. Which this one right here gives you an extra turn basically. So in that case, if you draw that token and you flip it during whatever turn you're using it on, then you draw another token out of the bag, which gives you a 4th action. Now, there is a bag over here. This has got all the extra stuff in it. As you gain skills, as you gain these skills here, it will give you other options to add new tokens to your draw pile, your draw bag, your tool bag actually is what it's called. So that's pretty much how the rogue works. Probably one of my favorite classes so far that I've played, because I've played through this a few times, and it was just a lot of fun. It's a lot of RNG. But once you actually draw those tokens out of the bag, it's a lot of fun because it's like a game of Tetris at that point. Or it's very tactical, I should say. When do I use my tokens? Which turn do I use my tokens on? But like most American-style games, it's very RNG on what's coming out of the bag. Then it's based on the die rolls, and then am I going to play it at the right time, that kind of thing. But I really like the mechanic of the rogue. Alright, next is the wizard. So the wizard is going to be your range DPS champion. So the wizard has got a cool mechanic. It's got this amulet, this magical amulet, that the wizard uses its spells to harness its magic. So basically what happens is right here, this little wheel right here is you turn it when you cast the spell. So you get to choose at the beginning of the game where you want it to start. So if you want it to start on the attack, the heal, the defense, more than likely you're going to have it start on the movement. And the reason is what you do is you use mana. Wizard starts with 6. You use mana to cast your spells. So for this one, it's 1, 2, 1, and 1. And then once you cast a spell, then you turn to the next one. It moves to the next one. And so to use this ability again, or to use the amulet again, you have to use this ability. Now let's say you don't want to use your attack. Let's say you need healed. So you just moved, you just spent 1 mana to move. Now you can spend 1 mana to move it. This right here. After spell or 1 mana. So you turn it after every time you cast the spell, or you spend a mana. So I took I spent 1 mana to move it, went to here. I didn't want to attack with it, so I spent another mana to move it to here. Now I spend 2 more mana and I heal me or my friend for 3. Now keep in mind, you also have weapons that are going to be their own thing, so you can still attack with your weapons and not even use your amulet. So keep that in mind as well, guys, that you don't have to worry about, oh no, I've got to figure out what I'm going to get. This is my only way of dealing damage. No. You also have a weapon that you can deal damage with as well. This is just on top of his normal attacks with the weapon. And also know this as well, the wizard cannot use the amulet unless it has a staff or a wand in their hand. So if you're running around with 2 swords, you can't use your magic at all. You have to have a wand or a staff to be able to use your magic amulet. Now, once you actually choose your skills, like for instance, you have 3 starting level 1 skills that you get to choose from, you choose which spot on the amulet it takes up. So for instance, let's say I choose this skill, Frost Course 1. Now, so it's an attack spell that spends 2 mana to get +1 yellow die and adds frost to the target. So now I have to choose which one of these I want to cover up. So let's say I just want to be a full offense wizard. So now I put it there, I completely cover up that defense. So now when I get to here, now this is the spell that I have option to cast. I no longer can cast that one. I can only cast this one. And every time you get a new skill, it covers up one of these abilities. So if you want to just keep what you're doing, then you could just cover that up and therefore increase your attack ability and keep everything else the same. And as things go on, the different abilities will help each of these locations. But it doesn't matter where you put it. You can put it anywhere you want if that's what you want to do. So that's basically how the amulet works. That's basically how the wizard works. Very simple concept. It's just the hard part about the wizard is the damage output is really dependent on the will or the amulet, and so trying to plan ahead. If you're not a chess player, you probably won't like the wizard. Just telling you that up front, etc. So you're going to have to plan ahead on how you want to do your turn. And guys, don't be that guy. Don't wait till your turn to figure it out. Do all your friends a favor, figure it out while they're doing their turn, or at least have an idea while they're doing their turn. And that way your friends aren't sitting there waiting for you to do all the math in your head before you actually take your turn. So don't be that guy. Next is the Shaman. So the Shaman has this elemental tracker, and I'm not sure I like it because as playing through the game, the elemental tracker is highly dependent on rolling the mana on the die. So when you get a die result, when you're rolling your dice, attacking, defending, whatever you're doing, and you roll a mana result, you get to either one, receive the mana as normal, or increase your tracker by one. So you choose which one of these four that you increase one spot. And it keeps going and going. Now, here's the problem with that I see. One, playing through the game a few times, you don't roll mana a lot, especially when you're going to be playing, I assume, a champion or a hero that's not going to have a lot of attack dice. So it's not like you're going to be rolling tons of dice to be able to regen your mana, more or less regen your, or be able to increase your tracker. So I think, I don't know, I haven't played it yet, but just on paper it looks like it's going to need to get the advantage of both, right? So I roll mana and I get both the mana plus I get to activate one of the tokens. But that's just my opinion. I don't know, haven't played it, but let's get into it further. So one, you get to increase your tracker. Your abilities are going to cost elements to be able to use. So maybe that's the difference. She doesn't actually, or he doesn't actually use mana at all to use their abilities. So maybe that's the difference, that they just don't need the mana. So it increases based on that. So maybe that's the difference. So mana, the only thing you're really going to use mana for is if you get a weapon or something that requires you to use mana to use it, like a wand or a staff or something, which the Shaman is not required to use like a wizard is. So that could be the difference. That could be the difference on why it works the way it does. Now, once you get to max, once your token gets to the max location on the tracker, at the end of every single one of your turns, you get to activate any of these in any order. So you can activate to get a move action that moves you into combat, which allows you to use a combat action, and then push the enemy away, then draw a magic item. So if you have all four of these maxed out and you're not using them to use your abilities, then you can actually get all four of these things every single turn. So that could be another reason why it's going to take so long to actually get to that point. So I don't know. This is going to be an interesting character. Now, something else that the Shaman can do is there's two elementals that the Shaman can summon. A ice dog looking thing and then a fiery bird looking thing. So a fire elemental and an ice elemental. So when you summon them, it's going to be based on the card itself. Each one's going to have its own card that's going to have its stat line. Each turn, the Shaman can give them one action. So it's either going to be a move or attack action, one or the other. It cannot interact and it cannot open doors. Now, if you want it to do more, so let's say, for instance, the Shaman is protected in another room with no monsters in sight, and your elemental is up there with the Barbarian, throwing fireballs at or whatever it's doing to the bad guys. You can give it the one free action to attack, and then blow all three of your next actions, giving it orders to attack again. So you can give it 4 actions to attack if you wanted to. Your first action is free, and then each action after that costs you one of your actions. So kind of neat. I like it. I like this part of it. I don't really like this part, but I haven't seen it in action, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to see it in action before I can give a full a full opinion on it, I guess. But on paper, I don't like it. I don't. I It just doesn't look. It doesn't look appealing. It looks like it's a game of sit and wait until you get up here, and then you're like, oh, cool, I'm the most powerful thing on the board. But until then, the main boss is already dead. The game's over, and I'm still not maxed out. So I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys think I'm wrong, if this is gonna be the you know baddest mamma jamma on the board, let me know. I just don't see it. I don't see it. All right, next up is the Ranger. So I have to say, I was super excited when I seen that there was a centaur in the game that was a playable character because, centaurs get a bad rap. They're always the bad guy. I don't know why. They're so friendly. I mean, doesn't he look friendly? But anyway, so I was super excited about that. Then I seen the Ranger, and I'm like, ah. It's just. So I look at it this way. This is what put me in the mindset to actually go, okay, I understand. So I don't know if any of you have ever shot a bow. It's all about precision, right? It's about hitting the spot that you're aiming. You can't, if you go too far one way or too far the other way, you're gonna miss your target. So that's what this is all about. This is all about hitting your target. So if you think about it in that idea, and then you think about the game of blackjack or 21, then you go, oh, okay, well, this makes sense. So basically what you're going to do is you've got a deck of cards, which are these. And with that deck of cards, you're going to shuffle them, you're going to put them beside your dashboard, and then every time you do an attack, you draw a card. You can keep drawing as many cards as you want until you hit 4 arrows or more. So as soon as you hit 4, you have to stop. As soon as you go over, you have to stop. Now, these icons here are special icons. They're not explained in the book at all. My guess is that they do something special, obviously, and they didn't want us to know what it was right now. They want to wait and surprise us with it later. That's why they haven't added it. It could have been a mistake. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they just don't want to spoil the surprise. So once you draw all your cards, and let's say you hit 4 arrows, you're right on target, right where you need to be, then you figure out all the cards that you drew. You figure out this top line, which is the tan line, and that's what you apply to all of your attacks. So if you drew 4 cards and all of them had ones on them, then you apply the top line of all 4 cards. If you, let's say, drew cards and you only got 3 arrows and you didn't want to press your luck, then you would apply the black line to your attacks on all your cards. If you went over 4, then you went a little too far and you apply the red line to all of your attacks, etc. So the Ranger's fairly simple. So you choose a weapon, you attack with that weapon, and then once you attack with that weapon, you start drawing cards until you hit 4 or above. Well, you can choose to stop at any time, but you have to stop at 4 or above. So let me know in the comments, because speaking of RNG, yeah, the Ranger's fairly RNG. I mean, you still have. I mean, keep in mind, guys, you still have your weapon. So your damage is still coming from your weapon. If you're not the type of person to take chances, you can always just attack with your weapon, draw a single card, apply the black number to it, or the black line to it, and then just move on with your life. I mean, it could be that simple. So let's say you're attacking with a weapon that, I don't know, maybe its special ability is it does 1 wound. So no matter what happens, it's going to do a wound, and the monster only has 1 wound left. So when you attack, you're going to kill it, so there's no reason to draw any more cards. You can just draw 1 card and be done. But if there's a situation where you're just afraid of what might happen, then maybe you don't want to just draw cards. Maybe I don't know. It's your choice. You get to choose. That's the beauty of it. It's your choice. All right, so that's all the champions from the base game, or all the heroes from the base game. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at all the heroes that were unlocked from the Kickstarter. So the first one on our list is the Necromancer class. It was the first one unlocked with stretch goals, and actually it was a daily login, I guess, unlock. So the Necromancer is a very unique pet class. So what they have is they have a soul track. Anytime a model is killed on the battle on the table, the Necromancer gains 1 pip on their track here. And then once you get to one of the skulls, you get a special ability. So once you get to the first skull, then the Necromancer gains the ability that he can spend one mana to get +2 swords anytime he attacks. Once he gets to the second skull, he has the ability to, at the beginning of your turn, he can heal himself 3 turns, and then once he gets to the final skull, he gets the ability to, anytime he would normally gain a soul on this track, he would instead gain 3 mana. He would instead regen 3 mana. Anytime, or most of his skills use souls to cast, so that's the big thing about the Necromancer. You can't start casting his abilities until you actually start killing stuff. And then once you actually cast your spell, the tracker moves down. So the tracker's going to constantly be moving back and forth as things die and as he casts spells. Now, the big thing about the Necromancer is that he is a pet class, so he's going to be able to resummon some of the monsters. So as monsters die, there are 3 basic trees, you could say, for the Necromancer. All monsters that are brought back to life by the Necromancer have a permanent taunt on them, meaning that they will always be considered to have the highest XP when it comes to the enemy targeting. So basically what that means is and there's 3 different trees. You've got the basic tree that brings back the basic monsters, your basic mob. Then you've got the leader revival, which brings back your leaders for the mobs. And then you've got the monster reborn, which is your roaming monsters. Now, when it comes to attack and defend, you use the stats that are on the card. So with these basic mob rebirth and the leader revival cards, you can't give them weapons. So they are literally just tanks for you. Now the Monster Reborn, that's a little different because they actually have attack and defense on their cards. Now, keep in mind, monster dice are, you don't use the monster dice when it comes to using the zombie monsters. So when you're using zombie monsters because of the Necromancer, the monster dice aren't taken into consideration. So once you get into once you summon a monster, it's going to come with these purple rings to indicate that this is a monster that's brought back with the unholy magic of the Necromancer. So once you start getting into higher levels of your skills and you decide which tree you're going to go down, or if you go down multiple trees, you will have the ability to give some monsters actual gear, so they can actually be given orders to attack. So when you give a monster equipment and the monster dies, for what's being written so far, it doesn't matter where you are on the board. The Necromancer will just receive all that equipment back. So that's basically how that works. Now, when you're giving them orders, it works slightly different than the Shaman. Basically, when you give one of your minions orders, it does cost you one of your actions. So you do not get a free action to give it orders. Anytime you want to give it orders, you do have to give it an action. You do have to spend an action to give it an action. Also good to know that when you cast a higher level of the spell, you also get the benefits of the lower level portion of that spell as well. So for instance, in the case of the Leader Revival 2, you not only get the ability to give them your equipment, but it also has the permanent taunt on it as well. So it will continue to keep both of those abilities all at the same time. So when you actually do upgrade your abilities, it keeps the original information as well as the new upgraded ability as well. So very important to note. Also important to note is when it comes to giving orders, anytime you leave a zone, your minion will follow you automatically. You do not have to give them an order to do that. They just automatically follow you. Alright guys, next we have the Monk class. The Monk class was the next to be unlocked through our daily login rewards? Question mark? Anyway, the Monk class has chakras. Now, what the chakras do, the chakras add a different mechanic of playstyle. Every turn, the monk must decide which chakra to play for the turn. The monk lays down the chakra, and he gains the benefit of that chakra for the turn. At the end of the turn, he discards that chakra, and it goes away. Now he only has 6 cards to play. And he keeps playing cards until he decides to play his 7th meditation card, his 7th chakra card, which is meditation. And he can play meditation at any time. And how the meditation works is, he plays it, it immediately gets discarded, and then he draws all chakras back to his hand, including the meditation card. So then he has all 7 cards back in his hand. For every card that he pulls out of the discard pile, he heals himself 1 point. So if there were 3 chakras in the discard pile, and on the 4th turn he decides to meditate, then he draws all 4 of them, the 3 chakras and the meditation, puts them back in his hand, and he recovers 4 points of damage. Now, with that also being said, that means he has no chakras for the remainder of the turn. But he regenerates all of his used chakras. Now, his skills will coincide with the chakras. They will help with each individual chakras. There's also 3 more chakras that he can unlock through the use of different skills as he levels up. So that's pretty much all there is to say about the monk. Again, it's just it's a fancy version of the Paladin, in my opinion. Kind of interesting. I kind of like it until we get to see his skills and how they interact with the chakras, there really is not going to be a lot you can say about the monk other than how the mechanic works. Alright, next is the Tinkerer class, which was also a login reward. So basically what the Tinkerer does, he uses the Forge to scrap his items just like everyone else, but instead of upgrading to a new weapon type, what he can do is use the items in 3 different ways. One, he could create exo armors, he can create constructs, or he can create bombs. As for the exo armors, there is a skill tree for exo armors that allows you to build an exoskeleton like an Iron Man for your hero. So there will be cardboard plates to go over your dashboards for the top part of your dashboard and the bottom part of your dashboard, depending on which exosuit you decide to build. It will look similar to this. Exo armor will be its own equipment card. So you will not be able to hold any equipment, armor, weapons, anything from the normal deck of magical items. You won't be able to hold any of those things because your exo armor is that equipment. It's going to have its own armor value, its own ranged weapon, its own melee weapon, etc. So all those things will be placed on your dashboard, and it will take care of all your weapon stuffs. And as you go up in level, as you can see here, there's a level 1 and a level 2 armor and a level 3 armor. So as you go higher level in the tree, your armor gets better, therefore your equipment gets better. Then we have constructs. So your constructs, there are 3 different types of constructs that you can create. There's the guard construct, the sentry, and the scout. The constructs are pets. Depending on what's on their card, depends on what they do. So it will tell you their movement value. Obviously the sentry has 0 movement because, well, it's a sentry. And then it tells you their health value, what it takes to destroy them, what their defense value is, etc. So these are all things that you can do. Just like the Shaman, you can only have 1 construct of each type on the board at any one time. Every turn you can give each construct 1 order for free, just like the Shaman. Any other actions you want to give them past that, you have to spend from your own action pool. So just like the Shaman, if you're in a room safe and sound and you want your sentry construct to just open fire, you can literally give it 4 actions to shoot. So that is an option. Anytime that the construct's destroyed, it comes back, the model is given back to the Tinkerer, who then can resummon it at a later time. So the way bombs work is they're traps. So you have small bombs and you have little bombs. And basically what you do is you, as a free action, can place them in any zone. Anytime a enemy walks into that zone, the bombs blow up. At any time, one of your friends can come right behind you and pick those bombs up and move them. If you, let's say you're several rooms down the hallway and monsters are coming from behind, one of your friends can pick one up and move it to another room at any time, and they place them just like you do, which is, as a free action, they can place the bombs. Here's an example of what the bomb tokens look like and what they do when they explode. In other instances, there are other skills that the Tinkerer can get that can help them maximize their abilities. For instance, the item specialist, which allows him to use the Forge ability in any zone. In other words, he can build stuff like his bombs, his constructs, or his armor in any zone. He doesn't need to be at the Forge. or Smart Builder, which spend one less item on exo armor constructs or trap skills. So lots of cool little things to change around the way things work, and it's another concept. It's kind of interesting because you've got the three different ways to play them, to build them, or even do all three, but just not that great at any of them. So I don't know. He could be a lot of fun to play. He looks a lot of fun to play. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Tinkerer. Alright, this is probably the class that got everyone the most excited, I think. And it is the Bard, which is the next sign-in class. So the Bard, true to form, is a musical class. And how do you build a musical class in a board game and give it the feel of music? You create a keystroke that activates his abilities. Kind of cool. I dig it. Alright, so basically you're going to receive this dashboard that has X, Y, and Z on it, and then you literally place your tokens on how you're playing your chord, and your skills will dictate what effect you get. So how this works is the 5 dots, the 5 white dots at the top of your dashboard here are your chord tokens. You start with 3 chords on your first, second, and third white dots. Every turn, all 3 shift one zone or one dot to the right. Once a dot gets to the final chord and it goes off the board, then it automatically gets put on to the first one again, and then they constantly rotate off the board and back onto the board, and they constantly move over one every turn. Now, the middle part where the X, Y, and Z are, that's your central area, and that represents the strings that are on your instrument. Each line has 5 slots that can hold one note token each. It takes 2 mana to place 1 note token on any zone that you want, on any X, Y, or Z note that you want. Now, how that works is when every turn the chords move, every single turn. The notes, on the other hand, don't move. They're permanently there until you spend the mana to change them. So that means that every turn your chords move, meaning your music changes. And that's where your skills come in. Your skills will actually tell you what you need to be playing for that ability to work. So for example, the War Chant, if your notes contain Y, Z in this order, all heroes up to 1 zone from the Bard get attack +1 sword. So that means anyone who can hear them gets the bonus. So all of his abilities are going to be based off of a certain way that he's got to be playing his notes. And as you can tell, the higher the skill, the better it gets as he's playing his notes. The notes don't really change, but it just gets better results. So that's pretty much how it works. Everybody loves the Bard. Everybody loves a Bard when they're playing role-playing games and things like that. I think they did a pretty good job. It seems like the class is going to be a little difficult to play because you've got to constantly maintain that order of manipulating where your notes are, so in the hopes that you can get the spells or the skills worked like you need them to work. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Bard. So the last one is the Druids. Now, they weren't a sign-on reward. They were actually a Kickstarter exclusive add-on for $25. And it was the Druids versus Beelzebub. And so with that, you got the 2 Druids, the male and the female, and then you got the 3 Druid forms, and you got the miniature of Beelzebub. And all of the, of course, all of the stuff you need to play them. Pros and cons. Really cool that it's an add-on. Con, it's a Kickstarter exclusive. As much as I could care less if they do Kickstarter exclusives, I hate when it's a game component like this. I mean, more monsters, sure, whatever. Kickstarter exclusive them. But this is actually a player character class. If it was just more heroes, different types of heroes of the same classes, then I could care less. But the fact that it's a specific class that you could only get by a Kickstarter exclusive, I don't like that. I see where it's kind of the same concept, but I just don't like it. I think that you should be able to play the Druid without needing to do a Kickstarter exclusive. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. I know that there's the I hate Kickstarter exclusives team, and then the I could care less about Kickstarter exclusives team. So we're not asking about that. We're asking specifically, what do you think about one of the character classes being a Kickstarter exclusive, and that's the only way to get that class. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Alright, so let's get into what it is to be a Druid, which is kind of neat. They did a really good job on how the Druid works. So what's really great about the Druid is he has the 3 forms that he can turn into. Just like in most games that you play a Druid, he can transform into monsters or creatures or animals. So he does have 3 animals that he can transform into, and all 3 have special abilities. So when you're transformed into those animals, the other 2 gets stronger. At any time, he can spend 1 mana as a free action to transform into any of the animals. So when he is a bear, let's say he turns into a bear, all the miniatures are sitting on the dashboard according to wherever they are, and you just switch them out with the Druid. So now the Druid's going to sit on the bear icon on the dashboard, and then the bear's on the game board. While you're the bear, you cannot use any abilities that require mana other than your transformation ability. And when you take a move action, you only move 1 point. And then if you're the eagle, again, you can't use any abilities that require mana. And its negative is you can't trade or interact with doors. And then the raccoon, while you're in raccoon, again, you can't use any abilities that require mana, and you can't attack. So as you're in the different forms, your other abilities get stronger. So all 3 animals have a track on them. So the raccoon has the flow track. Anytime you're in bear form, eagle form, or druid form, anytime that you move from one zone to the next, your raccoon will level up 1 point in its track. While you're in raccoon form, you can spend 2 raccoon points to heal 3 points of damage. Anytime you're in raccoon, bear, or druid form, and you deal damage, you deal 1 point of damage. For every 1 point of damage you deal, the eagle will go up 1 point in its track. Obviously, the raccoon doesn't attack, so You won't get much benefit with the eagle while you're in raccoon form, but for bear and druid you will. And for while you're in eagle form, for every 2 eagle points you spend, you can do a charge ability. Now, while you're an eagle, raccoon, or druid and you defend and you roll 1 shield, for every 1 shield you roll, you'll get a point in your bear track, which is your vigor track. Now, while in bear form, you can spend 2 bear points to get 2 extra blue dice while defending. So he is definitely tanky. So that's pretty much how the forms work. It's very exciting to see how they work, and I mean, it has a very good feel to it. So, which is another frustrating part why it's a Kickstarter exclusive. Now, when we come to the skills for the druid, the druid can actually use abilities and use the points that have been building up in the different animal forms to get other abilities while fighting. So, in other words, like the Flow 1 skill, use 1 raccoon point on another hero up to 1 zone away, gains 1 mana. Or 2 eagle to get +1 damage, or +1 sword, or a bear to gain taunt until the end of the round. So these are all abilities that revolve around how the druid actually works. The main thing is to constantly change forms to gain benefits of those forms, and then while in those forms you're gaining points into the other forms, which feeds your abilities, constantly feeds your abilities. I think this is a really good class. I think it has a lot of good potential. I hate that it's a Kickstarter exclusive. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Let me know in the comments what you think about all the classes. So that's pretty much it. That's all 11 classes, playable classes that you can play in the new Massive Darkness 2. If there's anything that I didn't cover, let me know. If I missed anything, please let me know. I don't mind. I'm not infallible, so I'm human. But other than that, if you liked what you've seen and you want to see more, so please subscribe, hit the like, share it if you'd like. But I'll see you in a video soon. Have a great day. Bye.